they also use the brooches that they got from Lothlorien as rites of passage, as well as a way for Merry and Pippin use them as a way for Aragorn to track them, and Sam and Frodo use them as a rite of passage to get into to seek housing in the woods. The bread also that they were given was also really useful because it sustained them for weeks. They were able to just eat a little bit at a time, and it helped give them strength throughout the first sprint of their journey. And the last artifact that I think was really, really important was the Sword of Andúril. And it's the sword Aragorn made from his ancestor Isildur's sword, Narsil. So I found this pretty significant because he reforged his ancestor's sword and made it his own. I feel like this is really important because, as anyone who knows that's read the book, Isildur took the ring from Sauron, and he was supposed to cast it into the fire of Mount Doom, and he didn't. That is Aragorn's ancestor, so Aragorn now is having to clean up his ancestor's mistake. And he's taking that burden on himself by reforging his ancestor's sword, renaming it, calling it his own, and picking up where his ancestor left off. So these are all ways in which that I like this book. I know that I talked on a little bit longer than I anticipated, but there were a lot of things that I liked about this book, and there were a lot of things that I didn't like about this book. In general, what I didn't like about The Two Towers, and I acknowledge that it's probably because this is the second part of a trilogy. It has a lot darker theme than The Fellowship does. I feel like The Fellowship had a lot of folklore. It was learning more about the races, and it was just kind of enjoying new experiences, where this one's learning about all the dark races, the different kinds of orcs there are, and now you're introducing new enemies, and now there's the Nazgul. It was just had a lot of anxiety, and it was at times hard to muscle through because it was so much negativity and anxiety that it was hard to get through that and see the light at the end of the tunnel. It was also hard to track where everything was again, and I feel like this didn't really matter as much as the first one, because our heroes didn't really know where they were going in either. So they're just following Smeagol. So I feel like though it was frustrating, I feel like it kind of allowed me to connect with Frodo and Sam a little bit more, because I didn't know where we were going. They didn't know where they were going. It was mainly just Smeagol saying, "Hey, this is where we're going," in his cryptic riddles that he does. It was also hard to keep track of what was going on. There were 3 narratives going on at all times. So instead of following one narrative, I was following 3. I was following Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, who were trying to rally the forces together and hold back the forces of Sauron. There was Merry and Pippin, who got kidnapped and saved themselves, and then was with the Ents for a while and learning about that. that's really interesting. And then the third party was Sam and Frodo. All these aspects are really interesting, and I'm sure they're really key, but it was really hard for me, the reader, to... It was really jarring to figure out the timeline when they jumped. I think that it was all linear. I'm pretty sure it was, but I didn't know that until the very end when the army was marching out. Actually, I don't think it was linear now that I think about it. I think that army was marching out. I'm not sure. See? I'm still not sure. I'm not sure the actual timeline of this narrative, and that is kind of frustrating. Another thing that I didn't really like about this book is that there was a lot of politics. I'm not a huge fan of politics. There was a lot more talking, there was a lot more power struggles, and yes, I'm pretty sure it's to help build up to a war, but I don't know. It was just, I didn't really like that part as much. I also found it really confusing and frustrating because Sauron and Saruman, their names sound really similar, and I'd like to look up to see what those names possibly mean. Was this a literary choice to make them sounding this similar? Because honestly, it was really confusing. They both sound similar. They both have armies of orcs. It just made it hard to keep track of who was who. Overall, I gave this book a really good rating. I gave it a 4.5 stars and an 8 out of 10. I gave the last one an 8.5 out of 10. I feel like there was a lot that happened in this book, and I'm excited for the next one. It was a little bit harder to get through this one. I actually had to read this one as well as do an audiobook on it because it was hard to determine the tone of the novel sometimes. But it was pretty good. I would definitely read it again. I actually really want to read it again because I feel like there was, again, a lot of things that I did not catch, and a lot of politics that I probably either gleaned over or just didn't understand. Anyway, so that is my review for the Two Towers. It was fun rereading it. I think rereading it the second time was extremely key, so I will definitely keep that in mind. Maybe I need to read it a third time. Anyway, well, I thank you again for watching this video, and I look forward to doing the next one. I'm pretty excited about this series. I think this is going to be one of my favorite ones for quite a while. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!